We have heard the transitional words. What about authorizations and rights? How can we push Industry 4.0 further? How can we give you options that enable what you've just seen, security updates, whilst at the same time linking them to modern internet technologies? There is a new demonstrator that is being set up on the stage, and based on the product mentioned by Mr. Hess at the beginning, Mr. Ketterle will give you details, so please, the floor is yours.
Well, welcome. I'm glad to have you here. My presentation has the title Everything Under Control, and in order to be able to introduce it, I want to recap what we've heard this morning. Professor Dr. Fröhlich quite impressively showed us how important it is today to think about security. It's a quite, difficult situation, don't you think? On the one hand, we do win productivity and efficiency by networking and all the opportunities that are created. And then, on the other hand, we do have a lot of homework to do. Thanks to God, Mr. Schirmer showed us some way how we can make a CODESYS control to a safe and secure partner. Namely, by issuing and installing a security certificate, which enables us to find out whether it's a trustworthy and reliable partner in our network. Now, this software world is not an ideal world, and, software failures happen on all layers of the technology stack. And quite annoying is when those failures are related to security. You often don't know either which problems might occur in the future. Some problems are not known in advance. I just remember the MD5 hash algorithm that in 1991 was actually the measure of all things for 15 years. Then some clever mathematics actually found out how to calculate mesh collisions and how to make this mesh algorithm as just nonsense overnight. You see that not only software failures are actually the reason for it, sometimes just the situations change. Mr. Greising mentioned in his presentation, though, that we can react to such problems by updating a firmware in running systems during operation. At that point, my presentation could be finished. It would have been a nice conclusion, what you've heard already, just because the fact that somebody granted me to a certain period of time means that there's a catch. And this catch actually is that when we have complex or distributed controller networks, there's not only one controller, networking wouldn't make sense in that case, would it? But we have to deal with 10, hundreds or 1,000 controllers. We have received quite nice insights thanks to our clients. And the record that we know is 1,500 controllers in one network for a building complex. I don't know, it might be the case that somewhere in the world there might be something bigger that we do not know, but 1,500 controllers, that sounds like a lot of work. Therefore, I would like to raise the question today in my presentation, who on earth is supposed to coordinate that and how? Well, to be precise, our problem starts and our challenge starts, just call it as you may, starts before the security question. Well, before everything is running, before you have to update something, but actually just during the project management or by project planning and setting it up on the initial operation. In order to be able to make you understand, I actually have this demonstrator here on the stage. My fictional controller network has 7 controllers. So from 01 to 07, those 2 at the bottom, we just leave them aside for a second. They will be included later on. It's Raspberry controls with SenseHead modules, and well, nothing special about them. And you see that every controller has a main color in this area, and the main color is supposed to show which control program is running on that controller. You see a red one, blue one, green one, and a yellow one. And a yellow application. That means for my fictional project, I do need 4 CODESYS projects. Experienced CODESYS users and operators might say, well, why don't you just put all 7 controls into one CODESYS project, because we can do multi-device and multi-application. Shouldn't be a problem at all, but there are 2 things that contradict to that fact. It might work for 7, but surely not. It would not work for 100 or 1,000 controllers. The second point is everything depends on the industry we're moving in. Sometimes we do have different development teams. Just imagine in a building, let's say the red one would be a heat control, the yellow one would be a light controller. Totally different people. They might meet somewhere in the building for coffee, but they will never ever share one CODESYS project. The background of the demonstrator is deliberately black matte. Why is that? For this reason. The challenge we are facing are industry neutral. If you have a look at this page here, everything could happen in a building. It could be a controller network in the factory automation, or it could be, which is my favorite image, it could be distributed all over the world, controllers that are distributed worldwide. Depending on the industry and the extent, the diversity of the challenges are the same. And to keep the balance between the quantity and the distribution, that may differ. Let's get back to the image on that side here. I have not shown you one thing. Next to the main color that every controller has, you do have a secondary color. You do see that, especially in distributed applications. We do have many controllers with an identical controller program, which on site, though, is configured because of its purpose on site. We do see it with 01 and 07. We do have the red controller program, but they do have a different set of parameters. Let me summarize the situation here. It's a very small project, nothing exciting here, but we deal with 7 controllers, 4 CODESYS projects, 4 boot applications. Those people amongst you who do not know what a boot application is, well, it's a EXE file, actually, the thing that comes from the programming system, which is then put on the controller where the controller's program is or can be found. We do have 7 different sets of parameters. That's what we saw. In my fictional example, we have 3 developers. So if we connect that with each other, we get a quite complex map or image, and we have to keep everything together. Some things that are important or that were shown this morning can't be seen here. With regards to security, for example, we do probably have different software versions. We do have well, certificates, we have backups, and the image gets more and more complex. And I want to repeat my question: who has to manage that, and especially how? I threw the question into the room twice, and it's high time to give the answer. We actually decided to develop a product in order to manage and fight this challenge. Well, naturally, we can't put this product into the runtime system because we should not actually cover several runtime systems. We can't put it in the programming system either. As soon as there are things that need to manage the infrastructure and have to be carried out on a superior level, then we incorporate servers. Well, most of the time, or we rather put our brain performances in programming and not in name finding. That's the reason why we actually called this whole thing CODESYS Automation Server. Just check our CODESYS shop, how many products we offer. You don't have to do that. I did it a few weeks ago, and it's 180. If you now think, well, quite a lot of efforts, all this wall here for the 181st product. Does that pay off? I can tell you it does. Why is that? Well, let's have a detailed look at our portfolio. And we can see that everything we do can be found in two pillars. We do have our runtime pillar, our runtime system, which actually allows us quick transport to different areas. So without our runtime system, nothing makes sense what we do. The second pillar is about the desktop computer and our engineering system, the CODESYS programming system, which is very strong in the basis version, which is for free. And we actually can extend it to a Swiss Army knife of immense size, with a little chainsaw as well. And then we decided strategically to add a third pillar or column with products around a server product. Therefore, it's very important what I am going to tell you now. So I will show you some application examples. And you will learn why I have this stupid baseball cap with me. Well, you will then learn later what servers will be able to do and capable of doing in the future.
Hier haben wir unseren Server schon mal
Here we have our server, and you see everything happens on the browser surface. I use Chrome for that, and in the right top corner you do see that I am logged in as a user that is allowed and eligible to do something on the server. We will talk about I'll tell you later that there's also opportunities and people that are not allowed to do anything on the server, but that's a different topic. I do see here at my location, it's a fictional location in Bowling Green in the United States, and I can just check how those controllers 1 and 6 perform. I can do the same thing for Lengris just around the corner and Hamamatsu in Japan. So we could also do the same thing in order to have a look at our classical switch cabinet or the production floor. So that means on the server we do have views and opportunities to map and depict the realistic situation to a very high degree. If you don't like graphics and images so much, you can just switch to a list view where you have a chronicle series of controllers. You can, though, select your choice or the selection just by tagging. You see, the individual PLC is the important point, and from the individual PLCs we can get to information which are related to the PLC. I click on details and I do have access to, for example, the CODESYS project, which is related and connected to this PLC. Or if I just go back, you can also access the boot application, which is related to this PLC. Or, again, click on the set of parameters for the PLC that actually determines the right top corner. Now, I want to show you a first application case. I want to make a logical change here at the red PLC. Let's imagine we're just about to get the approval of a system, and there's a software bug that needs to be solved immediately. So I'd get rid of the software bug and would cause it to be rolled out on relevant controllers. And how that works is what I'm going to show you. I just click on the project and say open with CODESYS, and now from the browser CODESYS is started, and you might know it takes some time. I actually tried to think how to bridge the time. I think just by telling you how I thought to bridge the time is almost bridged already. Oh, looks quite good. And what you can do here is, it's just like with a source code management, you just save this server state locally. You're connected with the server and everything you do now is synchronized with the server. It just takes a few seconds. The network is not so great in here, therefore we have to see that we have the project here. Well, as it is normal for a security application, we have to log in, and as we are quite advanced in our development, we also have a password policy. So without ABC, nothing would have happened. So I do get the information from my project, and before just going to failure search, well, I thought about the software problem this morning in the shower, and I said, well, confirmation, I forgot to confirm certain data. I do know where and how to solve that problem. I need to put it here. I need to go here in this function block, make a certain command, i.e. acknowledge pending beta, and that will solve the problem. I hope that you believe me. Oh, my cap is almost falling down. But what I do now is I do synchronize the software state with the server. Of course, I have to hand over a good commit statement, i.e. fix the acknowledgement bug. I do publish the change against the server, and the current state of the software is on the server. I now have to deal with the boot application server, upload boot application to server. What will happen? Everything is translated locally, and the boot application is uploaded. That is actually everything I will do in CODESYS today. That's the reason why I closed the program. So I don't need it for today. I just return to my server surface, access the boot applications. I find out, well, something has changed with the main application, obviously. There is a boot application state which cannot be seen on any other controller. We can see it here in details. There is a star, and the old state was rolled out to 3 controllers, and now I would like to lift it up to the new state, and therefore I click on Update All. Well, before putting on Update All, could I please ask the cameraman to give me a wider focus? Yeah, that should be sufficient, so that we see the red ones. So the 1, 5, and the 7 looks quite good, because what you'd expect is, if I click on Update All, something may happen with 1, 5, and 7. Let's see whether something happens. Yes, great. There is a change of color to purple. So what did we see? With just one mouse click, I could update several controllers. Up to now, you should have either logged in to every controller and do it manually, or you would have been required to write own scripts. Let's get to another point. Changing parameters. That is actually what you do not do in the office or at the office PC, but on site. That's the reason why I have a tablet PC with me, just to show you how you can work on site. Could you please show me the tablet here? I think I need to connect to complex technology with a Chromecast. Actually, it is connected.
Okay, das ist nicht so gut. Ich trenne hier mal nochmal die Verbindung und sage Bildschirm streamen.
I just try to stream the screen. Oh, looks good.
Das können Sie mir glauben.
Believe you me. Okay, as you can see, here on the tablet, I have actually the same image. It's a bit blurred, but I think this is due to the not so good network. But I think that's not disturbing because I think you can recognize the important things. So let's get to controller 4. Let's click on details. Oh, well, actually, I'm a bit further. Well, I asked myself, let's try something. Can we see something on the camera picture? Well, no, that's not good, no. Okay, let's hope it'll improve here. I tap on parameter. Just change it. I change the parameter to 2 and just need to cheat. Exactly it's number 04. Just look at that. I just click on confirm and you do see that the right upper color has changed. No, it has not. Oh, it has. Perfect. Then it worked out perfectly. I want to commission a controller. That is actually the next use case I want to show you. If you please look at controller 10. It's my location somewhere in Argentina. And I want to commission that controller. And I want to put the main application to number 10. So it's very easy to just access my main application, click on deploy, and select one controller. Well, it's not existent. Oh, that's a pity. I need to add it to the server first. Well, it was unknown to the server to that date because actually it wasn't wired to the full. So I had to do that. So I have found by server here. So when I click here, actually all controllers that can be reached are listed. And I just add the PLC from that list. I click on add to server, everything is connected. We do see here at the circle that nothing is happening. Then I access my application, boot application, main application, and I click on deploy PLC 10, then click on deploy on selected PLCs and keep our fingers crossed that something changes, and that is what we can see here, and that is commissioned with my main application. That is actually the conventional way of how we can commission a controller. There's an even better way, a method to do that, and I'm going to show that to you. So, well, the camera picture can stay here, and
Ich möchte jetzt gerne die Steuerung
I would like to commission the controller, but unfortunately cannot be on site, so therefore I have to ask an electrician, which is on site, to do that action. But, well, I don't want to grant too much of an access to this electrician. I just don't want to do that because of IT reasons. And now I can do the following. So I access the application and I do create an empty template. So go to the supervision application, then say create as template. Then I enter the name of the thing. And I do have a boot application on a non-existent PLC. So what I do now is I open the template, click on details. Well, you need to do some clicks. And I do create a commissioning ticket. A commissioning ticket is an instruction to commissioning personal staff where the required information you need for the commissioning can be found. So I can also set a description, plug it in, dude, that would be my instruction to this person, and I do create a ticket. Now I access this ticket and I print it out. Click on print. Just briefly, after the sound effect is finished, the printer starts printing. Oh no, the cap fell down. Well, no problem, because I will put that cap on. So I just switch roles. I'm not Kevin Ketterle anymore. I'm Jonathan Doe, the electrician on site. I love Baroque church music, but I have no clue about software and servers, and I don't want to know anything about that. But I do have a ticket, and I'm going to show you what I can do with this ticket. Let me show you here in the camera picture how this ticket looks like. I hope you can read it. No, generally there's a barcode. Oh, perfect. You're zooming in. Well, there's a QR code, and you do see my instruction, plug it in, dude. That is actually what I have to do. So what I'm going to do is I use a QR code scanner and just take a picture of this screen or of this code. So we need to go back to the tablet. I do have a QR code reader on here. I scan the QR code, worked quite quickly, and I do browse the website, or I access the website now. And what happens now is I'm not logged in to the server, but I do have a surface in front of me which is only for me. I can hardly do anything. I can't log in or something like that. I cannot do any damage to anything. But what I can do is I can go to the controller I have to commission, i.e. number 10. No, it's number 9. And I can scan the serial number of that controller. So you can either type it in, but, well, we want to be quite professional today. We have a QR code put on there. I hope that the light is sufficient that I can scan that QR code. Well, you need a bit of patience. Well, at home with standard light it works way better. Yeah. There we go. Well, but unfortunately, the screen mirroring was interrupted at the same time. Oh, I don't like this Chromecast. It's not a lot of fun.
Naja.
Cast connection interrupted. Well, luckily it's software that was not written by us.
Verbinde, Punkt, Punkt, Punkt.
Connecting, dot.
Na? Um so ein bisschen die Zeit zum Überbrücken. Ich glaube, wir haben hier ein Ersatzding,
Well, I think we have a replacement tablet here somewhere.
besser funktioniert.
Well, we'll see whether it works with that one.
Genau, der da streamt nicht mehr.
Oh, that one is not streaming anymore, so let's try that one, whether that is streaming. Of course, it is clear that it worked out well yesterday, the day before, and the last week. That is clear, isn't it? Oh, perfect. Well, actually, we've learned our lessons, and we do have replacement and backup devices, so I have to try it again.
Zweimal mach, aber das sehen wir gleich. Ganz entspannt.
Well, we just wait and see. Probably I have to do it twice. Let's do it again. Just browse to the website, access the website again.
Genau, sei bespielt.
Great, same procedure.
Schauen wir mal.
Okay, hopefully it works faster and better this time.
Sehen Sie.
Oh, there you go.
Nummer ist hier.
Serial number can be seen here. Just the field was,
Mache Sie werfen bitte wieder.
the code was, the serial number was entered there. Just have a look at number 9. I do tap on commission this PLC, and there is color.
Schön. Ja, das.
Thank you very much.
Das tut doch sehr gut.
Well, it's a good feeling, isn't it?
So. Damit kann ich meine Baseballkappe
Oh,
auch wieder
now I can remove my baseball cap. Oh,
Offenbares mit dem
I do see. Well, obviously something happened with number 6. It turned dark.
Server geht. Oh,
Oh,
oh ja, er hat's auch gesagt.
oh yes. Notification. Yeah, I do receive a text message from the server that there is an issue, obviously, with controller number 6.
In meine Listenansicht und
I just entered the list view and I do see, oh yes, number 6 has turned dark. And I just repeat what I actually showed you, just quickly. There's the same method for replacement. I can just click Replace PLC, then I can enter a description again. But as Jonathan Doe will do it, I just leave that and just note in write in blah blah. Create a ticket. I just go to ticket management, click on all ticket, and well, 5 years have passed now. This controller turned dark and failed. Well, we do have a sense of green environment. We will not print it out a second time because nowadays printing out things is not state of the art. I'll just send it via email.
You have an email.
So the question is, which tablet actually talked to me? Well, coming back to Jonathan Doe, well, let's see what happens. Oh, it's dark. Oh, you've got mail? Okay, let's see what this email is about. Well, we could hear the sound, but we can't see an email. Today's the 16th of May, right? So is it correct? Oh,
Dann schau ich mal auf den anderen.
okay, let me check the other tablet PC. It might be the case that it's there.
Ach, das war klar.
Oh, it was
Dass Sie
clear, wasn't it?
Spannung und Aufregung durchleiden.
That you will have to go through a lot of excitement, tension, etc.
Na, die E-Mail kommt nicht mehr an.
No, I think the email will not come anymore. I think it's not decisive. I think you know what will happen. So what would have happened is, you could see it here. You know, just next to the QR code, there is also a ticket URL. That's actually what I would have received through email. And when you click on that, you could see what we saw before. It's nothing new. I don't want to stretch it into length, and that actually allows me to go back to my old role. Actually, the live demo was not that bad, to be honest. Worked out quite well. And now you know what baseball caps play for a role in modern industrial automation. I would like to come to the last part of my presentation, and there might be some questions that have come up to you, and I want to try to anticipate some questions and answer them right here, right now. And the first question might be, where is the server running? Is it somewhere here behind the demonstration panel? Is it on the notebook? Or is the server somewhere in the internet nirvana, as you may call it today?
We are a classical software company, and of course this server product will be available as an installable software appliance as you are used to from us. But to dampen your anticipation, it's not easy to run a server on the basis of software only, because you have to look at infrastructure. You need a web server database, a firewall, you need to do update and backup management, build up, set up, and maintain the stuff. So this is something for IT pros. There are companies out there that have IT pros, and that's the right thing for them. There are companies without IT pros, and there are people that even cooperate with IT pros, and they might be excited to see the next thing. We are planning to offer an appliance. Now, what is that? That is a piece of hardware that can be built off the shelf, and the whole software and infrastructure has been pre-installed thereon. You buy it, get an Amazon package, build it up, put it up, plug it in, and it will work. Combination of software components is tested by us, and it will meet the highest of quality requirements, and this covers a lot of disadvantages of the previous software solution. But there is one disadvantage of this appliance: the initial costs. Regardless of how large a box that needs to be or how often you will use it, it will cost money. And that brings me back to number 3. Cloud operation of the server as is done today. We don't just do it because it is so very cool to push everything to the cloud today, but because we are convinced of it having many advantages for you, because you do not have to think about the hardware, the software infrastructure and the like, saving cost, effort and money. And we work together with cloud providers that cover topics like redundancy, update management, data migration without downtime, and that know their job. Some skeptics might say, "Ooh, my data in the cloud, what about data protection? There is a neuralgic date nearing next week." I can tell you The cloud providers we cooperate with have seen and recognized the signs of the time and have computing centers in the legal area with the legal requirements that you require. What is very good is scalability. Complex control networks need a much bigger server than small networks. Critical networks have much higher redundancy and backup and fail-safeness requirements than less critical ones. And in the cloud, it is also very easy because you do not have to estimate upfront what you will need. You can start very small and expand the server and reconfigure the server with only a couple of clicks of the mouse. If you don't need more, which we don't, if you don't need it at all, which we don't hope, it will disappear into the cloud by your deleting the instance, and then you will not incur any additional costs. So you can see that we have a technological approach such that we can offer this new product in various types of appearance, regardless of whether you are open or rather conservative with regard to new options and technologies. We will have your flavor of the month of the automation server available. Now the question is, do all the controls need to be linked with the internet? And the answer obviously is no, because by way of security and administration, it would either not be thrilling or impossible. Our communication model foresees or provides an edge controller, which is at the interface of the local network and the cloud up there, and it opens a clearly defined door between these two worlds. The name says it, edge controller. It is a controller and not a server. So, if you like, you can install it onto an existing controller because there is no dedicated hardware required. And given that it is a controller, it is CODESYS programmable theoretically, and the sky's the limit when it comes to the useful functions that can be programmed into that. Let's look at a picture from reality. Of course, we would like to have all control networks to be pure CODESYS networks equipped with the latest version of our runtime systems, but reality looks different. We have third-party controls, and it is our plan to support these systems as best as we can, because an automation system only makes sense if it is an umbrella to everything, also managing heterogeneous control networks. Modern V3 control. Now the question is, how new does such a control need to be so that as to communicate with our server, or does the device manager need to empower you to link up with the server? The answer again is no. All the communication channels we need in order to exchange data between controller and server have been existing for years. By code generation and device application, we manage to retroactively install old functionalities to new functionalities to old devices. I don't know who still knows that logo, but we plan to support old CODESYS V2 controls. Still, they have some longevity, although they have been extinct for a long time, and we need some support here. And I hope that some of you will have an uneasy feeling by now. This morning we heard about security, how secure all devices need to be, and not even 1 hour later, I am here and tell you, connect V2 controls to the network. They are so old. Back then, most of us couldn't even properly spell the word security, so it jars, doesn't it? Well, if you paid example, the edge controller is is one solution that shields all the functionalities from the dangerous world of the internet. And if you took a listen and paid attention to what Mr. Shermer said this morning, he presented the threat modeling tool. Of course, this tool cannot do away with the necessity to do threat modeling, but this tool allows you to be constantly informed about the situation in your network. Try to directly link a V2 controller directly to the automation report. I would be very much surprised if there were no avalanche of threat reports. And that is our approach, not only provision of functions, but updating data, processing data, and make them available such that you are perfectly familiar with your situation. Let me now sum up the individual elements. We have a PLC list, a PLC topology. We saw how the individual controllers or PLCs are doing. The server knows all the communication addresses, which are normally stored in Excel files. The server knows all that. The CODESYS projects, boot applications, and application parameters was what we saw and have seen. And we will release that in a version 1 by the end of the year. Release it into a field test. Field test, now what is that? Anyone who likes to play around with the matter, not taking matters too seriously, can get a demonstration account in the cloud in order to play with it. But field test also means that those who say, I seriously want to get started here and now, will be entered into personal contact with, and we will commission everything under controlled framework conditions, so to speak. Of course, version 1 is not the end of it all. We think of many things that can be added to the server every day, like PLC-based functions for security-relevant functions, backup and restore, certificate handling, the firmware update that is rolled out centrally, and an overarching and superordinate user management. Continuous integration is something I would like to talk about in detail this afternoon. So no details now, but tool-based functions are a nice thing. Look at our version calendar. We do 2 service packs and 10 patches. So if you want to be up to date and have 10 people involved, there are 140 installations per year to be updated and up to date. A lot of work. Now let's just imagine there is a central CODESYS installation on a server that needs to be maintained only once and can be used by everyone. That would be a great thing, and that's why we are planning on doing that. Data-oriented functions, that is about big data. I don't want to go too much into detail here because we will hear a lot in the afternoon. And the last thing, this is architecture, a technology platform. So we will be so open in our platform design that you as a customer or a third-party provider can expand everything by your own modules as desired to your heart's content. Finally, what's the price? Unfortunately, it will not be available free of charge. That's a fact. It's not easy to find a good pricing model for a server. We have our experience with runtime systems. The manufacturer pays a certain sum to us per device sold. This is a lifelong license. This is easy to overview, and it can be calculated with. With the programming system, we are even better. We give it away for free. With servers, I mean, how is the server used? Do you use it for 10 controls or 1,000 controls? Do you use the couple of basic functions I've shown you, or will you be using a huge range of the host of functions that will be available in 5 years? And also, from our point of view, servers need to be up to date and provided with safety and security updates, which costs to us. So it makes a difference whether you try it for 2 weeks or continuously run it for 5 years. And therefore, we are convinced that the price can be determined by number of controls, number of functions, and number of time units you're going to use. This is a relatively complicated formula, the details of which is not yet known to us either, so I cannot say 2,500 euros. You see that this pricing model that needs to be calculated doesn't allow me to give you a clear number or figure here. But if it is in the cloud, we can scale the costs. If you want to start with 7 controllers and with no demands for 1 month, it will be a ridiculously small sum, and you can scale it over the time until you manage 1,500 controls and use the whole server bandwidth. At that point in time, the server will definitely cost a substantial sum, but at that time you will know that it is worth the money. With no other license model can you say that you pay what you use. I am at the end. You were all so brave, and some of you have a complexion in their face that spells hunger. I, for one, said everything I wanted to say about automation. I hope you liked it. I found it hilarious and very much fun. Thank you very much for your attention, and enjoy your meal and your lunch break. Thanks ever so much.